Hey there! Are you trying to figure out why your Christian life is not as it should be? Are you trying to figure out why you don't have the direction that you would like as to what you're supposed to be doing and where you're supposed to be going, who you're supposed to be preaching to? Well, one of the big impediments, one of the things that could be holding you back, is figuring out who you work for, who gives you orders. Why do you do things every day? Who's your boss? It's summed up pretty amusingly in the book of Joshua. Our position, that is, the problem. Joshua takes place as the Israelites are going into the promised land. And the moment that I'm talking about is Joshua has brought estimated 1 to 2 million people into the promised land, but faces his first big challenge, the fortified city of Jericho. It's a big walled city, and they have no way to mount those walls. They don't have siege equipment. They have lots of people, but this is a big impediment, a stronghold that they have to get past. Joshua appears to be perplexed, and he goes off by himself to try to figure out how he is going to surmount that big obstacle. Are you getting a hint of the problem already? It's kind of like how we roll in life. There's a big problem before us, and we think, okay, what do I do? We might consult friends. We might consult books and the internet. A recent study said that I think it's something like 80% of the people who say they are Christians right now consult other things before they consult prayer. It was like 90% before they consult either prayer or the Bible. So they ask everyone else's opinion before asking God. We try to figure things out first in our own intellect, in our own strength, before ever asking God's opinion. Joshua is off by himself, and he's doing just that, trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? Might have a little writing stone out, trying to draw pros and cons of approaches or angles of what we will do. Maybe we'll throw some sheep in there. Until God enters the picture and makes his presence known in the person of the captain of the Lord's army. He comes directly from God to give Joshua help, to give him an answer. The amusing part comes in when the captain of the Lord's army appears, and Joshua responds by saying, hey, who is that? Who are you, essentially? Are you for us or against us? Joshua responds like you and I do. Are you on my side, or are you on the enemy's side? Are you with me? Are you Democrat, or are you Republican? Are you liberal, or are you conservative? Are you from my country or the foreign country? Everything focused on this level, the human experience. Because that's how we process things. We think about ourselves and then the people across from us. People. Captain of the Lord's army is having none of it. He just says, no. No, I'm not on your side. No, I'm not on their side. I am the captain of the Lord's army. I am from God. God is always on God's side. And the question is, are you on God's side or are you against God? Are you a servant of God or are you an enemy of God? Jesus puts it straightforwardly when he says, you're either for me or you're against me. There's no in between. Jesus is in charge. He's the standard setter, and we either line up underneath him, behind him, or we line up against him. But it's not we are in charge. We're not the captain of the ship steering and Jesus is just beside us. We're not driving the car and he is our co-pilot. He is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. He refers to himself when he quotes the Psalms and then Daniel before the high priest at his trial as at the right hand of power and as the Ancient of Days. He says, I am, in the Garden of Gethsemane, when they ask who he is. And as a result of his identification with, as himself, God, but also with the God of the burning bush, everyone around him gets knocked down. The impediment is we think like Joshua, and we think, is God on my side in this? Is God with me? Will God give me the strength for this? Or is God against me? That's a wrong thinking. We should be starting with, what does God want? How could I serve God? What is God's plan so I can get behind it? What is God's will here? God is not our co-pilot. We're not even in the driver's seat anywhere. We're in the back of the plane with the cap with a little propeller on our head, while he steers, while he keeps the entire universe together and is playing a symphony with his church. And we're just playing a little part, a tiny little violin. So, ask yourselves, am I asking God? Is God completely in charge of my life? Or have I diminished him to a genie who I rub every once in a while when I need something? Or a lucky charm that I break out, rabbit's foot, if there's danger? Oh, God will help me. Or God is like a credit card. When I need something, just swipe God and I'll get a new car or a new house or a new job. Or is he in charge of me and pouring out my life as a drink offering, like Paul says, consuming me as an offering on his altar to honor him and praise him and bring him glory and bring many of his sons and daughters to glory? One of the biggest impediments to an abundant Christian life is us just being us and focusing on us rather than glorifying God and serving him. Jesus says the greatest among us is the servant to all. Are we a servant to anyone other than ourselves? The great news is, if this is pricking you, if this is convicting you, that is God speaking. And he is perfectly merciful. And he loves you. His grace will cover you and give you strength to take that conviction and turn it into rejoicing and action and love for the church. That's what your master wants you to do. Go and preach his gospel and change this world.